Hello, everyone. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller, and today's edition of Heads Up Weather still features a heavy snow band and an ice storm. As far as the Ozarks are concerned, we're mostly going to be dealing with the snow aspect of this, and recent runs have shifted that heavy snow band into northern Arkansas a little bit more, but for reasons I'll explain in a minute, it's still a little bit up on the unsure side as to where that exactly will be laid down. Why is that? Well, let's take a look, first of all, at the Pacific Ocean. Well, here's a visible satellite loop of the eastern Pacific as the sun rises. You can see I've highlighted where Hawaii is. This is way out there. Here's California right there, and the Ozarks way over here on the curve of the Earth. So the storm that's going to interact with the Arctic air is this little swirl right here. It's a small little system, and traditionally, getting this to be accurate over the U.S. it can sometimes be a little bit of an issue for the models. It's gotten better year by year because we have remote sensing now that gets this pretty accurately, I think, but there's still a lot of time and or little things that can go wrong with the exact placement of this. I don't think there's any doubt we're going to get a snow and an ice event starting on Friday and going through Sunday. It's just a question of putting it down exactly where it's going to end up being. Sometimes that's a challenge even the day before. So that's one of the things I'm looking at here today. If you look at what the 500 millibar chart actually looks like here this morning as initialized by a model, you can see this is a huge trough right here. This is a big long wave trough supplying all the cold air. This is the little wave we're talking about. So we're basically saying what's going to happen to this wave as it interacts with the stronger flow. And the colors on here are wind speeds, so you can see this is much stronger jet stream flow than this little disturbance is here. So to answer that question, let's continue to look at that same level. We're going to use the GEFS model, and it's forecasting by Friday morning, this system is approaching Southern California. And one thing that concerns me, it's cut off a little bit. So it went from an open wave where there wasn't actually it did have a small cutoff, didn't it, on the last map, but this one's a little bit more substantial. So when it starts coming into the United States, not only is it closer to the event, but it also comes into actual sounding data that the balloons that are sent up to sense these winds directly. So sometimes it changes. So this is all about how this system interacts with the cold air that's going to be in place across this area here. So that's Friday morning. By Saturday morning, this gets integrated into the main flow. Even though the main jet stream is leaving New England, there's still enough. It's a combination. It's one of these events where we have uplift as encouraged by, so we have one jet streak there, one jet streak here. And if I further draw on this, if we have this area here and this area here, often those two zones of the first circles I drew are areas of uplift. So there can be a lot of ringing out of the atmosphere. Air is just rising, clouds form, precipitation forms, and then you have to break down the profile. Springfield and most of the Ozarks pretty safely in the snow zone the way it looks now. That's Saturday's map. And then on Sunday, this just kind of shifts eastward, basically, with the precipitation slowly coming to an end in the Ozarks and plenty of cold air to go around. How cold? Well, if we look at the 850 millibar temperature and wind pattern, this is the forecast for Saturday morning. Again, this is the American model, ensemble model. So the blue line is the freezing line at about 5,000 feet. So this air down here is cold right near the surface, okay, and warmer aloft probably, especially in southern Arkansas and northern Louisiana, whereas here in Missouri, northern Arkansas, we are safely in the snow zone, maybe a little bit of sleet south to initialize all this. So that's the general setup. If you look at what the GFS is looking like at the surface, 6 p.m. on Friday as this event begins to unfold, huge Arctic high pressure system in northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, with northeasterly flow here. One concern that always pops up in this scenario is the dry air supplied by this flow right here. And there's going to be a real sharp cutoff line between snow and no snow and snow and vigorous snow. And how will that be placed? So there's a very, very subtle feature. We also have an inverted trough right here, which will help to fire off snows, especially on this side of the trough right here. So let's get right to it. Let's take a look at these models and just break down what they're showing. First, a little bit wider view showing that at least the GEFS model is showing over a half foot of snow in central Oklahoma and maybe getting into parts of western Arkansas, the period Friday through Sunday, especially Friday night into Sunday, maybe as far as the evening. If we zoom in on that, here's Springfield right here. So this model is saying 3.5. Again, kind of a tongue-in-cheek approach here. This is way out, but it is kind of consistent, and it looks like a little bit more snow will fall in northern Arkansas. We can change views, see what that's about. So Mountain Home is at 4.1, but we're talking about exceeding 6 inches possibly in Fort Smith and places like Conway as well. And in general, this area kind of in purple here. So now if we switch models to the European model, by the way, this is all 12Z data. So this is the model runs from 6 a.m. this morning. These are run 4 times a day. This is the latest I have. If I see any significant changes between now and my next update on Thursday, I'll certainly bring them to you. But the EPS is a little more aggressive on snow totals here, with this band right here showing up as 9 inches of snow from just south of Fort Smith to around that Conway area. If we zoom in on Springfield, a little heavier, 5.1, 7.2 in Mountain Home. And again, really showing a lot, 9 inches in Fort Smith, Russellville 9.4. So that'll just give you kind of some idea of what the range is on this. If I had to guess for Springfield at this point, I would say 4 or 5 inches based on what I've seen, and with it going maybe as high as a half foot in Arkansas. So there's also a freezing rain component to this that is very necessary to mention, especially since this is occurring not that far from us, really. It's not really an issue for the Ozarks at large, but if you're connecting through Dallas or Memphis, or those are the 2 big airports, I would say, as far as the Ozarks are concerned, this could be a real issue for runways. So you're looking at this correctly. This is a 1.5 inches of liquid precipitation that, if it all fell into a freezing layer, could technically be freezing rain. So a very serious situation. So that's the latest heads up. Again, if you want a broader view of this, I will issue Weather to Watch, which is my lower 48 view, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then bring you this more localized view again on Thursday. So basically every day you can get some sort of update for the Ozarks. So enjoy the calm weather while you can.